Hey guys, this is God of Politics. I'm going to a brand new video, but before you start this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But in today's video, I'm going to be doing my updated governor elections predictions video for 2022, including the two races that we have in 2021, which are New Jersey and Virginia. But let's get right into this video right away. So we do have 5 Democrat governors that are not up for re-election and 7 Republican governors that are not up for re-election. For the Republicans, that includes West Virginia, Indiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Utah, Montana, and North Dakota. For the Democrats, that is Washington, Louisiana, Kentucky, and North Carolina and Delaware. But let's get right into the safe states for the Republicans, which include Idaho, Wyoming, Alaska. South Dakota, I do think is going to be a safe state. Maybe if Billy Sutton runs, he could bring it below 10 percentage points like he did in 2018. But 2022 is not going to be a blue wave year, most likely. You have increased partisanship. Kristi Noem is an incumbent. She's more well-known. She's more well fundraised. And that is all going to help her probably get a safe margin of victory in 2022. Nebraska is also a safe Republican state. Oklahoma, Arkansas, probably with Sarah Huckabee Sanders running, is probably going to end up being the next governor of their state. Texas, I'm also going to put as a safe Republican state. I really don't see a scenario where Greg Abbott has a competitive race. Maybe it goes below 10 percentage points, but even in 2018, he won by 13 percentage points, though Democrats didn't pay attention to that race. But in 2022, maybe he has a little bit of a closer race, but I still think at this point he's going to win by a safe margin. Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina also going to be safe states. Even with South Carolina, even with Joe Cunningham running, I still think Democrats are not really going to bring this race under 10 percentage points. South Carolina is still a solidly Republican state. And then finally, I will put Vermont and Massachusetts as both safe Republican states because I expect Phil Scott to run again for governor. And I also expect Charlie Baker to run. Maybe Charlie Baker gets some sort of primary challenger, but I don't really see that as too likely of a scenario. I think he's probably going to end up winning by a safe margin. If Chris Sununu runs again for governor, I do think he will win by a safe margin, but right now I'm assuming he runs for Senate, so I'm not going to assume that he runs for both governor and Senate. So for now, I'm assuming he runs for Senate and not for governor, so I will base my prediction off of that. Now, as for the safe states for the Democrats, I am going to put California as a safe state for the Democrats, Hawaii as a safe state for the Democrats, Illinois as a safe state, of course, Maryland as a safe state. You've got Larry Hogan, who's term limited. I don't really think the Republicans really have a good candidate here. The lieutenant governor said he's not going to run, and even if he did run, he's not as popular as Larry Hogan, and I don't think he'd be able to win. But you do have Peter Franchot, who's probably going to end up being the nominee. He won by about 50 percentage points in 2018, so he'll probably end up being the nominee. New York, New Jersey, also both going to be safe states for the Democrats, as well as the state of Rhode Island is also going to be a safe state. But after that, I'd probably say that's all these safe states. Maybe in Colorado, I'll also add that as a safe state. But other than that, that's all these safe states. So Democrats have 8 safe seats. Republicans have 13. Now, getting into the likely margin states, first I'm going to have both Iowa and Ohio as likely margin states. These are states where the Republicans have, of course, gained a lot in recent years. These are seats where Republicans have held the governorships for quite some time now, and I do think that their wins will continue because, of course, these states have trended towards the Republican Party. Maybe Mike DeWine gets some sort of primary challenger from the right, but I don't really see that as a likely scenario. Overall, they're not too popular governors, but Democrats really aren't going to beat them. Maybe if Democrats ran someone like Rob Sand in Iowa, but really, it's not going to be a close race. It's not going to be too competitive at all. I also do believe that Florida is going to be a likely margin state. Before I didn't really think that Ron DeSantis would win by too much. I thought he'd win probably by around 3 to 4 percentage points. Now I'm saying he's going to win by about 5 to 6 percentage points. He is well fundraised. He's done very well in the polls. He is generally quite popular in the state of Florida. I think that's going to aid him and give him a likely margin victory. Now, for the Democrats, they do have quite a few likely margin states, including Oregon, which has historically had quite close governor elections. The Democrats have always end up pulling away in them and end up winning them, at least in the last 40 or 50 years. And I do expect that trend to continue. It's going to be an open race, but I do think the Democrats will be able to win it. New Mexico is another state that I do think will go by a likely margin towards the Democratic Party. Maybe it goes by safe margin. Maybe it goes just about 10 percentage points. But for now, I'm putting it as a likely margin. Virginia is also another state I do expect to go to the Democrats by a likely margin. Maybe it gets slightly closer, but as of now, it's not going to be much of a close race. You've got Terry McAuliffe, who's probably got this in the bag. Connecticut's another safe or likely margin state. This is another state similar to Oregon, where Democrats have historically had quite close gubernatorial election, and I do think that this is a similar thing. But the Democratic governor, Ned Lamont, is probably going to end up doing quite well. The new London mayor for Republicans, who many people expected could run and could make a close race, said that she wasn't going to run, and because of that, in part because of that, I'm moving it to a likely margin. Maine, I'm also going to put as a likely margin state. Maine is a state where Democrats have historically done quite well. Of course, you have had Republican governors in the past, but with the incumbency advantage, with the fact that it is a blue state, Democrats will probably win it by a likely margin. So that is probably all the likely margin states. Actually, I might add Minnesota to this. I don't think Tim Walz is going to have any trouble winning re-election. He'll probably end up winning by a likely margin. But overall, we have 19 Democratic governors and 23 Republican governors after the likely margin states. Now, for the Republicans, in terms of the lean margin, I'm going to put Arizona as a lean margin. Arizona is a state where Kimberly Yee, the state treasurer, has announced that she is running. She's a good candidate. She won by, I believe, around 8 percentage points in 2018, and I do believe that she does have a strong chance of becoming the next governor of the state, and she will end up winning this race. I'm also putting Kansas as a lean Republican state as a flip. I believe that 2018 was a little bit of a fluke. You had a bad Republican candidate, a good year for Democrats overall, and a third party, which you could make different arguments about. But overall, I do think that Laura Kelly is going to be in trouble in 2022, and she's probably going to end up losing by around maybe 3 to 4 percentage points. But we will see what happens here. Maybe Republicans field a bad candidate, and Laura Kelly ends up winning. Maybe they field a very strong candidate, and Laura Kelly ends up losing by more than what I'm saying in this scenario. But we will see what happens. Now, those are all of the lean margin states for the Republicans. The lean margin states for the Democrats, I think Michigan is a lean margin state for the Democrats. Michigan's a state where you've got Gretchen Whitmer, who has been in some hot water recently, has become a little bit less popular, but I do think due to the lack of a strong candidate for the Republicans and the fact that Gretchen Whitmer is quite well known nationally now, which will help her in fundraising, help her in name recognition, and help her overall, all those factors contribute to a quite close victory, especially compared to her 2018 10-point victory, but still a victory. So those are all the lean margin states for the Democrats, and then the tilt margin states we're going to go right into this. Actually, I'll probably add Nevada as a lean margin state. I think it'll go around 2 to 3 percentage points. But the tilt margin states, we've got 4 states here. I think Georgia is going to be a tilt Republican state. I think that Brian Kemp could be in quite a bit of trouble. You've got a primary challenger in Vernon Jones, who I don't think is going to beat Kemp, but could certainly do well and maybe end up winning. We'll see how it goes. But in a general election, coming out of a bruised primary, Brian Kemp could be in quite a bit of trouble, especially with Stacey Abrams running against him. And he's going to struggle to get to 50%, which means that there could be a runoff, a lot of energy for the Democrats in that race, and it could be quite an interesting race for Brian Kemp, which he may end up losing, but we will see what happens. I also think that Wisconsin is a tilt Republican state. Wisconsin is a state where Tony Evers really is in a difficult situation because the gerrymandered legislature really just does not want him to get anything done, and that's been a big problem for him because of the fact that they have such big majorities. Tony Evers has really not done much. The Supreme Court has been a problem for him as well, and really he isn't that popular in part as a result of the things I mentioned. Now, in 2022, he may have a good candidate, he may have a bad candidate. There's a couple of congressmen thinking of running for either Senate or governor. I think one of them will end up being the nominee for governor and probably end up beating Tony Evers by a tilt margin. But for these final 2 states here, Pennsylvania and New Hampshire, I am expecting Democrats to win them both by tilt margins. In the state of Pennsylvania, I think Josh Shapiro is going to end up being the nominee for the Democratic Party, and he'll end up winning this race. He's practically running for governor already. He won by about 4 percentage points for Attorney General in 2020. He also won in 2016, running a couple points ahead of Hillary Clinton. In 2022, I do think that he does have a strong chance of becoming governor, and I do think as of now he will win by a tilt margin. As for New Hampshire, again, I'm expecting Kristen New to run for Senate, so I'm working based off of that assumption and based on just the fundamentals of the state and the fact that you do have a quite weak bench for Republicans in New Hampshire, other than someone like Kelly Ayotte maybe. Other than that, really I don't see who's going to run for Republicans. Democrats could run a number of candidates. They could run a couple of good candidates, maybe someone in the state legislature, maybe a couple other candidates that I can't really think of right now. But overall, both sides don't have the strongest benches, which is why I'm kind of resorting to the fundamentals here. Maybe if you have Kelly Ayotte running, this seat will probably turn into a tilde R, lean R state. But as of now, I'm just putting it at tilde D because Democrats do have that slight edge in fundamentals. Biden won by around 7 percentage points. And I do think that does aid the Democrats in 2022. Though if Chris Sununu does run, that could probably carry the Republican candidate over the line. So I could easily put this as tilde Republican as well. But overall, I think we're going to have 27 Republicans and 23 Democrats, with the Democrats flipping New Hampshire and the state of Maryland, and then the Republicans flipping Wisconsin and Kansas. So a net change of 0, but 2 flips for either side. So thank you for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.